Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Building a SaaS. So this is a series where we are going to sit down for a half an hour each day and build out a SaaS application. So we are using an open source software as a service starter kit called Wave. Be sure to check out devdojo.com/wave if you want to use this same open source project to create your software as a service. So the SaaS application that we are creating is called Fancy Bar, and it is a call to action bar that you can embed on your website. And I'm going to take off where we started last, or where we ended last time, and that was we created a new bars migration. So this is episode 10, so be sure to check back on all the other episodes if you're not sure how we got to this point. So we created a migration for this bars table, and I think we also needed to create a migration for a sites table. So we had a sites section, and if I look back at the migration, if I go to database, migrations, create bars table, I actually had a site ID, and that was specific to this bar. And I was actually thinking about this, that I don't actually need to associate a bar with a specific site. So I need to specify a site belongs to a user, or it doesn't even matter in that case. What it comes down to is I need to allow them to be able to add a site, and I can say if this JavaScript embed is coming from this website, then this specific bar, then allow them access or allow it to be shown. So I don't even think I really need a reference to the site. The site is essentially what somebody can add to that bar. So maybe even under their settings, we can have like URLs that the bars are allowed to be accessed from. So rethinking this, we don't even need to have really a site section. We really just need a bars section. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this site ID, and then I ran the migrations from the previous video. So I can just run PHP artisan migrate rollback, and then I can run migrate. And now if we were to look back at our bars table, let me go ahead and open this up. So this is in our local host, and the database is Fancy Bar. So now if we look in the bars, we just have the name, the slug, the template, and when it was created at. And now that I'm thinking of it, we probably want to associate the bar with a specific user account. So I probably need to go back and say table, and we are going to say that this is an integer for the user ID, and this is going to be unsigned. And let me take a look and make sure that that user ID column is in fact an integer and not a big integer. So if I go back to the structure, yeah, we have ID int unsigned. Okay, so I need to create this reference key. So first I'm going to run that migrate rollback, and then I'm going to create a foreign key reference to that specific user. And basically what this would allow us to do is if the user account was deleted, then we can also delete the specific bar that is associated with that user account. So I'm actually gonna have to Google this because I can't remember off the top of my head how the foreign key works. So Laravel foreign key migration. So let me take a look at foreign key constraints. Yeah, so we have table. So table foreign user ID references ID on users. Looks good. So I should be able to add that. I think at the bottom of this. I did know sometimes whenever I created the table and then I created a foreign key, sometimes I had to create the foreign key after I created the table, but we'll go ahead and try it and see if we get an error. And constrained users. So we have here on update cascade, on delete cascade. And this essentially means that if, say, like the user ID gets updated, like we change the user ID, which I don't know when that would ever happen, but then it would basically look back at the database and say, okay, that user ID had these bars, So we need to change the user ID in those bars that belong to that user. And same with delete. If we delete that specific user, we want to delete any bars that are associated with that user. And let me see what this constrained. Actually not too familiar with that. So foreign ID constrained. Foreign ID. Okay, so it looks like it's just something new that you can say foreign ID for user ID, and they'll automatically make these associations. But I think we're just going to keep this foreign user ID references ID on users, and then we're going to say on update cascade and on delete cascade. So we're going to add both of those right there. Let's format this to look a little bit better. Okay, so let's give this migration a try. So let's say PHP artisan migrate. Boom. Okay. Now let's go back to our database. Go ahead and look at our bars. So now let's go ahead and just add something in for, maybe we create a new user. So I'm going to create a new user, and then I'm going to create a new bar associated with them, delete the user, and then we can see all of this in working action. So this might actually be a good test too, because I want to see if I sign up, call the function avatar on null. Let's see where this is happening. Okay, so it looks like that my pricing page is inheriting, or it's calling the wrong layout. So let me go ahead and open this up, and that's our pricing.blade.php. Calling theme layouts.app, and I think that should have been theme layouts.main. Yeah, so now the user can sign up. They can click there to get started. And since we do not have paddle set up, we can actually, we can't go through with the testing process, but we will be setting up paddle soon so that way we can be taking live payments. But I think in the meantime, I'm gonna turn off the require user to purchase before they can sign up for a free account. Because I think that's actually the way that we want our app to work. So I want people to be able to sign up for a free account, and they can sign up for a free bar, but then if they want to upgrade, then they have to enter in their credit card, and then they can upgrade to an additional plan. So let me go ahead and log in. And I then need to go to the admin, and this was under, I think, settings. Yeah, settings auth. And we're going to say, actually billing. Require credit card upfront. Nope. So let's save that. Let's go ahead and log out. And then now if we were to visit the sign up page, we should now be able to sign up for a free account. So I'm just going to say John Doe, gmail.com. So we went ahead and registered for a new account. And now let's open up the database and check out our users. So we have these two users here. So now let's say that we go to bars, and we're just going to make up a bar name. So we'll say awesome bar template 01. User ID is going to be 2. We'll set the created at and updated at as now. So if we have this bar right here, we could then be able to go to the user. So if we deleted the user and we save that and we go back to our bars and reload, we're going to see that we don't have that bar anymore. And that's exactly the functionality that we wanted, because if a user account gets deleted, we'll just delete any example bars that they have created. So let's go back and create another user account, and then I'm going to create a few bars and in the database, and this way I can display the bars in the table. So let's set this up with John Doe again. Actually, let's say Jane Doe. Okay, so we have Jane Doe logged in, and as I'm here right now, I land on the dashboard. I'm actually going to move this bar functionality to our bars section. So I want when you click on this link to go to the bars, and then I want it to display the bars and this table. So I'm going to go ahead and modify that by changing the dashboard index. So I'm just going to replace all of this. Maybe I actually want to keep the container because we have a P10. Oh yeah, I just need to copy this all anyways. So I'm going to copy this, and then I think I'm going to probably put this, inside of dashboard, and I'll say new file, say bars.blade.php. I'm going to paste that in there, and then for our dashboard, maybe I just want to have this H2 and just say welcome to your dashboard. And I don't think we need the button there. Then we're probably going to have maybe even some videos about how you can set up the bar on your website and a bunch of other stuff on the dashboard. Maybe some how-tos. That's usually a good idea, is right when the user lands on the dashboard, they want to know how to use the product. So when they land on the dashboard, we may present them with some tutorials, some guides on getting started, and maybe even we could show like success stories once we maybe get some. So let's go ahead and just say, this is your dashboard. I'll probably want to copy the SVG for the home. So I have this home icon right there. I copy that and put that right here. Okay, so now if we go to our dashboard, we should now just see this message that says, welcome to your dashboard. And then we click on bars and we should be at our bars page. So let's go ahead and add that link that's inside of our app.blade.php. And I think this was, actually maybe it was an app. Actually it is app, but that's inside of the tall stack. Okay, so we have bars right there. We want this to actually go to, and I'm going to create a route with a name of bars. So now we need to create that inside of our routes web.php. Actually, we already have that. Well, actually this should be dashboard/bars. So this is going to be just for our use. So we'll keep that in there. I'll say get dashboard/bars. And is this going to go to a view or a specific controller? So I think this probably, yep. Let's go ahead and just return it to a view at first, and that's going to be theme, and that was dashboard.bars. And the name of this is going to be bars. Okay, so we've set that up. Let's reload, let's click on the bars link, and now we're here at the bars page. And I actually want to have this link be the one that's actually clicked instead of the home. So it looks like we have to modify that as well. So I say, this is BG Gray 900. Yes, we need to add this BG Gray of 900 if this is the route that the user is on. So we'll say, okay, I guess we could add this to the beginning. You could say at if request is dashboard/bars. Then we want to add the BG Gray of 900. So let's see if that worked. That did work, but we actually want to not show the home page looking like that it's highlighted. And I don't think we want this hover state either, and we want the color of the icon to be white. So let's say that we want this also to be text-white, and we can say else. Then we can add that hover state here. So we'll say hover, where are you at? There we go. So we want to bring over this hover and this text gray of 400 inside of the else condition. So if it is not this specific route, then we want to show these styles. And the same is going to go for the home icon. So for the home icon, we want to say if the request is dashboard, we want the BG gray of 900, text white, otherwise we want it to be this kind of dim color. So I think we need to take off this text white and BG gray of 900. And let's go back, let's reload, and now it looks a little bit more active. So we can click on home. Actually, we didn't add that route, so let's add that now. I should just go to, I think I have a named route for this. So route, I think it's wave.dashboard. Let's see, it'll give us an error if that's not correct. Yep, I think that's correct. So we click on that, now we're back at the dashboard home, then we click on bars and we're here at the bar. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now we need to, so we just created the new user. We need to display some bars inside of the bars table. So let's go to the bars table. And we have this bar with the name of awesome bar, slug awesome bar. And it's actually going to be a weird like hash. So it might be like blah, 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 45, that might be something like that. Probably look a little bit more hashed, kind of like a YouTube hash, but I'll just keep that for now. The template is going to be 01, user ID is 2, and all this stuff I'm just entering in because I know what the user ID is going to be, but once we go in and actually create a new bar, this stuff is automatically going to happen. It's not like we're going to, create a new bar in the database for each customer. So let's add another bar. Let's call this cool bar. Another hash. We'll say 03, user ID 2. Okay. Cannot update a child, a foreign key constraint bars. Okay, did that user ID, let's see where that is. Oh. Wait, which user am I logged in as? Am I logged in as, yeah, Jane Doe. So I think she actually got an ID of 3. It's not letting me reload unless I save this. So let's change the user ID to 3 and try that. Yeah. So that's what happened. So if we reload, we see that this user has an ID of 3 because 2 was already taken from the previous user that we deleted. So we have the ID of 3 there. So now that we have the bars in the table, we should be able to show them here and show the name. And see, I don't even think we'll have, so we're not going to have a title. I don't even think we're going to show the hash there. Let's see what other stuff we might show. Bars, so we have the slug, possibly the template. Oh, and then we also needed an active state. So that is something that I need to create because you should basically be able to set it to either active or I guess it would just be not active. So that could just be active 0 or 1. So how about I create another migration for that? Say PHP artisan make migration, create bars, active column. Looks good. Let's go back to our migrations. And we're going to say schema table. And for the bars, we want to add a table Boolean value of active. And I think we're going to set default. Let's see, I don't know if, so if somebody creates one, I'm thinking by default that should probably be inactive. But then again, we could just change that in the code. We could set it to active as they save it. So we'll just say that default to 0. And on the down method, we need to drop this column. So we'll say schema table bars drop column active. I think we're good to go. Let's give this a shot. PHP artisan migrate. And let's go back to the database, reload, and yeah, now we have that active column. So right now it's set to 0. Let's go ahead and set the first one to 1 and click on save. Okay, so we will have the name, the template, I think it's the template ID. And then we have the active state. So we need to loop over each of the bars and display them in this table. We'll also show an edit and a delete button. Go ahead and close out all of this. And this is going to be inside of our dashboard/bars.blade.php. Okay, so we have odd row, even row. So it basically has this BG white and this BG gray 50. It's kind of the difference between the two. But we also have the header columns right here. So we have name, we'll say template. And this may or may not be shown to the user, but we're just going to add it there for now. And the active state. So active, and we don't need the role, so we will remove that. We have the edit. This is going to be edit/delete, or we could say actions. And this table header is SR only for screen readers only, so it's actually not going to show in the header, which is totally fine. So we'd say, typically this is what we want to say. We want to say for each authenticated user bars as bar. And I may even want to pass a specific index. This way I can say if index, I think it's divisible by 2 equals 0, then we know it's an even number. So if it's even, we can say BG gray of 50. And we could say else we want BG white. Okay, so we got that figured out. Take out this comment. Let's tab this. So the first one we want to be the name. So we want that to be the bar name. And the next one is that template. So we'll say bar template. And now this one we'll probably want to specify if the active state is active, then maybe we show an active badge. But for now, we're just going to print that out. And then we have the actions here. So we end this for each statement and remove this. Okay, so now we have this auth user bars, but we don't actually have this bars relationship set up. So we need to go into our user.php and we need to create this relationship. So I can say public function bars, and I'm going to say this return this that belongs to or has one. So the user, I might have to look this up, unfortunately. Let me see where our bars model is. It doesn't look like we have a bars model, so let's create that. PHP artisan make model bars. Actually, I should have just called that bar. So yeah, let's just call that bar. I'm going to delete this one. So we will say bar. I hate it when it does that. Okay, so I want to use app/bar. So belongs to bar class. And the best way to see if this works is just to reload the page, and we get invalid for each user bars. Okay, so maybe this is, I don't know if that would be has one. Again, I gotta go to the Laravel docs. That always helps. So we look at the relationships, or so it would be eloquent relationships. So posts where active, so the many to many. So this should be one to many. So maybe that is has many. So user has many bars, and a bar belongs to a user. That's the way it should be, I believe. Let's test it out. Boom. Reload. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so now that we've set up that relationship, how about we also set up the inverse relationship? So we say inside of the bars model, public function user, and I'll say return this belongs to user class. And then I'll say use app/user. And I'm actually not even sure if I need to include that because we're in the same namespace. Let's see. See if I were to remove this, if it still works. Indeed it does. So I don't need to include that namespace because we're already in the app namespace. So now we should be able to get the specific user whenever we have a bar, like we're referencing a specific bar from the database. We should now be able to call the bar arrow user, and we'll be able to get the user that belongs to that bar or that created that bar. Okay, so we have this all there. We have the edit, and then we also need to create a delete button. Edit and delete. Boom, 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 delete. Oh man, looks like we got about a minute and a half left. I think we've made some good progress though. We're making, say, space X, X dash, do 2. And so we have edit and delete. Maybe for this delete, we want this to be red and red. Looking good. Okay, I think we're done with this video. We were able to make some good progress on the dashboard. We were able to add a few bars, display them in the table, and then I think maybe in the next video we'll start creating a new bar. And this is going to be where we actually want the experience to be a lot of fun. Somebody to click on create new bar, and it will show all the different templates, and then we can basically modify each of those bars, specify different background colors, and a bunch of other things. I'm not sure if that's exactly what we're going to do in the next video, but we'll kind of play it by ear. That's kind of just one thing that I'm thinking. So before I end this video, I guess I'll go ahead and push my code to GitHub, because that's one good practice after you code for even a half an hour or an hour. And then I'll go ahead and tag a new release. And like I said, this is episode 10, so this will be version 0.10. So git status, git add all more dashboard functionality. And I'm usually just pushing to main because I'm the only one working on it. But typically if you're working with a team, you may want to specify a feature that you're working on and then check out a branch. And then later on, you guys merge that into the main branch. But since I'm the only one working on it and we actually haven't released a version of the application, we're just going to continue to work off of the main branch. So now I will go to GitHub and my repo. And I'm going to go ahead and tag a new version. Releases, draft a new release, tag 0.10, adding more dashboard functionality. In this release, I have added the bars being displayed in the table and a few other modifications. Yeah, it doesn't really have to be that descriptive, even just a little bit. And as we continue to create more functionality, it'll probably get more descriptive as I go. And after I'm done with the YouTube link, then I will add it right here so that I can always refer to this video later. And publish release. Okay, pretty cool. We can navigate to our dashboard home, and to the bars section. We'll then be able to create a new bar. We can edit and delete specific bars. The user can then come in and go to the bars section and see all the current bars that they have. Yeah, I think it's really starting to come along. This is only the 10th episode, so we've really only spent about 5 hours in total building out this SaaS. I think it's already starting to come together pretty nicely. So I'm drinking some tea right now. We got some Earl Gray. It's pretty good. But I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me as we build a SaaS together. And I said this before, this is kind of just an experiment to have some fun, teach some things. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. If not, I'm sorry, but I'm still having fun creating them. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.